Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 1 of the Figure Forecast podcast. This is your host, Maeve, and
Scarlett.
Hey, we are here to bring you the news, the lowdown, the highs, the lows, the good, bad, and the ugly about the figure realm in bodybuilding. We are two amateur figure competitors working our way up the ranks, trying to get huge, and very passionate about that end of things. And what we wanted to do with this podcast, or kind of why it came about in the first place, was we had a conversation after last year's Olympia, and I was really trying to find, kind of lowdowns and reviews and stuff got to do with the figure category in particular, but all I could find was bikini. Figure was very few and far between when it came to kind of the likes of YouTubes and podcasts. So we felt, if not us, who's gonna do it? Since then, of course, there's been some new figure podcasts pop up, but it's something that we've had in the works the last few months, and we're super excited to be able to bring this to you and kind of delve deep into the realm of being a more muscular female and just opening up the conversation, I guess, about kind of, like figure in general, and like why maybe it's not as popular, or I just feel like sometimes girls can shy away from the bigger kind of classes, or like whether that's fear, whether it's like they don't have the knowledge, or whatever that may be. And we want to normalize being jacked bitches, really, innit?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, especially with you coming from a different class to this class as well, I think that's kind of a good journey to go through, because obviously you've experienced sort of the bikini side of things and how that is. And I feel like a lot of females do think that that is where they should go. And we want to just kind of talk a little bit more about, what it feels like to be, a little bit more muscular, and how that
I'll
can
let you know when I get there.
sort of feel a little bit more empowered and strong, and not just necessarily follow the crowd in terms of bodybuilding. Like, if you really enjoy to train hard and you want to put more muscle on as a woman, then it should be within your rights to do all that and feel comfortable and
We got
confident.
the vote, we can gain now.
So we're gonna obviously talk about our own journeys as well. Like, obviously we are both very much still amateurs. I've only done one show in figure 2 years ago, and Maeve is ready to go into her first one. So in terms of like our experience in figure class, we're pretty much on par. I've had like I've pretty much spent majority of my bodybuilding career in off season, but
for wellness,
we'll talk about that as well. And yeah, just I forgot what I was saying, but
that's fine, guys. You need to bear with us, okay? Because these mics got plugged in about 5 minutes before we tried to use them, and we're not the most technologically gifted pair, you could say. But yeah, I think that was a really good kind of rundown, because I think it's great seeing now, like it's definitely more of a trend that women want to get bigger and want to get stronger and want to like look like they fucking train, and it's not just about being shredded or just having a nice pair of glutes. Like, girls genuinely want to get jacked, and like that's just so fucking exciting to me. Like, I just love it, because I think so many people hold themselves back because they're afraid, like they're afraid to say that they want to be bigger, or maybe it's a partner or friends or family or whatever. There's still a little bit of stigma, I think, around it. So yeah, the aim of this podcast is to get as much or as many kind of inspirational speakers on, coaches, athletes, hopefully Olympians. Like, we want to bring you a bit of absolutely every bit of the industry, like whether that's the kind of behind the scenes stuff, or you know the stage stuff, and you know show reviews and predictions, and getting really good conversations with kind of top level coaches. What does it take to go all the way? And we just really want to open up the discussion and like start that conversation. And hopefully by this time next year there'll be loads of jacked honeys going around.
I
Yeah.
have found that like a lot more, there is a lot more in the figure class though now
Oh, for sure.
compared to like, you
Sure.
know, maybe even 3 years ago,
Yeah.
which is good
Yeah.
because
And I
obviously
think
there is, you
it's
are,
cool to see maybe people who would have really been limiting themselves to the bikini class finally letting go of it and just letting themselves grow. And you can see like it suits those people so much more because like they're obviously they were kind of nearly fighting to stay in the bikini class, and like whether they've gone on to do wellness or figure whatever. I just think the bigger classes in general are becoming that bit more popular, which is really cool to see. Like I'm excited to kind of see over the next couple of years how it develops again. But guys, I think we'll kind of give you a little bit of story time now. Scarlett, do you want to kind of tell us who are you? Why did you get here? What are your goals and ambition?
I have no idea. I'm joking. I don't know how I got here. So what? So basically, I've started been training for about 7 years in terms of strength training and, you know, being not necessarily trying to be jacked, but trying to be strong was my kind of, you know, initial path with training.
Like
Yeah,
you,
with powerlifting.
yeah.
And then obviously like with the lockdown and everything like that, it was just a no-go in terms of being able to powerlift. But when you've been someone who's always trained and always had that kind of just becomes your life, that you know
Mm.
there had to be something else that came about it. So I was like, right, let's try bodybuilding. I was like, I literally remember being sat on the couch going, oh,
Well, I
I think
can't
I might
drop a 300 kilo bar on my
I,
apartment floor.
I was like, I think I might just have a crack at bodybuilding. Like, bearing in mind, I've literally never done it before in my life. Never trained like much, even accessory work or anything like that. I was just like, I'll just do it. And then obviously I messaged Meg on Instagram, and she was literally just starting coaching then. So I was pretty much one of her first clients, and she was
For
like, "Yeah, of
anyone who
course."
doesn't know, Meg is Meg Sylvester, and she is both of our coach. She coaches both of us. What way did that come out? Anyway, you got the point.
Yeah. So yeah, and I obviously asked her kind of what class would you think I'd be suited in, kind of based on where I looked at the moment. Because obviously, like I'd been training for about 5 years previously to that, with obviously powerlifting. So my legs, my quads were already pretty
You're a
much
set of wheels on it.
developed.
Vroom,
But my
vroom.
upper body, not so much. Because I've spent years just arching and cheating my bench press. so there was no development in the upper body. But obviously wellness wasn't even a thing then, and I definitely did not have the glutes for wellness,
But
even
would it
if I
be
wanted
really
to.
interesting though to see if it was a class when you were starting? Like, would you have gone
Mm,
down that road? Like, that'd
I
be.
know, maybe, because I mean, I wouldn't have had to bring my upper body up as much,
As much.
really.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably more like a structural class, if that
I
makes
think,
sense. Do you know
yeah,
what I
I do
mean?
think wellness is a very genetic kind of
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
disposition. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think you just have to have serious mass down there naturally, or be very predisposed to lower body development. Like some people's shoot up, and that's not mine.
No, mine no either.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
wellness or upper body. I'll enter that one.
yeah. So yeah, so basically I just decided to go for it, and you know, we did like a bit of an off season beforehand, kind of. Obviously the first couple of months were still training in the house because it was still locked down and everything was still closed. And then obviously once the gyms opened again, I started training a little bit more on machines and things like that. Again, like knowledge was very limited in terms of kind of bodybuilding style, but you know, we learned and we prepped for the first time and did the first show in 2021.
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah, 2021. Pardon?
You placed in that show, right?
Yeah. So, well, I did first timers, and I got first in that, and then I got third in the open, which was unexpected.
That's pretty fucking good, mate.
Yeah, but like then obviously I went to do the British, which was my first obviously pro qualifier. And I think I come last in that. So that was my fuel for obviously, you know, the off season. We've stood next to the best in the country, and you know, we knew that there was a lot of work to do in terms of bringing everything up. So yeah, long off season has been. So yeah, that brings that.
Since 2021, right? So it's like what,
Yeah,
18 months, 2
so it
weeks.
was like
So
20 months in off season.
nice.
So
And you can fucking see it. Like you've built seriously, like I'm so excited for your show. Like so excited. Can't wait. What would you say, like, just out of interest, because now not that I was ever competitive or whatever, but I trained in a powerlifting gym before I moved out here. So I would have done like kind of conjugate strong training or whatever that way. Like I don't know enough about it to talk about it. But what would you say, like how much did your training change like then, or what did you have to adapt going from purely strength focused to like hypertrophy kind of, and like devils in the detail kind of stuff?
everything. I felt like I just had to learn how to train again, like complete beginner. Like sometimes I still feel like that now. Like obviously I know what I'm doing now, but sometimes I'm just like, I've had to like relearn how to squat so that I can get like a different type of range, you know, like just things that have been like so naturally ingrained in your head that like, because obviously when you barbell back squatting for powerlifting and you only ever do a max of 3 reps and all you've got to do is get your hip crease under your knee, like that's a lot different to getting like a full range, full knee flexion in your quads. It's like, it's just, so it's very humbling because you've got to, you know, take everything back and just take your ego out of it really and just do as many reps as you can. You've got to learn cardio. You've got to, you know, it's
You gotta learn cardio.
back to basics.
Big thing. Yeah, right. Do you miss powerlifting?
Well, sometimes I did enter a comp like just before Christmas. Well, it was meant to be just before Christmas. I was like, oh, I'll run it alongside whilst I'm in like off season and calories high and stuff like that. And it was just unmanageable, like completely unmanageable, because obviously like I was trying to do kind of high intensity, low weight, low rep squats and deadlifts, but then obviously trying to do like a full session of bodybuilding after it. And I recover like a 95-year-old woman. So it's like, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. So yeah, not even with any help.
It's too different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love a good deadlift session. Like fuck, I love them, but yeah, they're long gone. Long gone. Hate squats. Hate squats. Don't miss those. Don't miss those.
So they were my favorite. I love squats, but I
I'm
hate
too tall,
deadlifts.
man. I'm too tall. Just doesn't
Yeah,
work.
you are long, aren't you?
Jesus. Um, cool. Well, my story is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Well, not that I didn't train, but I was one of these people who wasn't kind of sporty growing up at all. Like I wasn't into team sports, and like if you're in the 90s in Ireland and everybody's playing GA and you're just the person who doesn't play GA, you're just kind of left out of all the sporting activities.
What,
So that was
what's
me.
that?
sitting in the bench, GAA, so Gaelic football. And that's about the
Oh,
only thing that went on in the 90s in Ireland. So that was me wrote off. And then kind of when I got a little bit older and through secondary school and college and stuff, I did Irish dancing through secondary school. In college, I did swimming, and kind of towards the end of college and after college, I was in boxing for a while. So I kind of did like individual stuff, and then it really wasn't until after college I got into the gym. So that was like in well into my 20s, and sure, I didn't have a notion what I was doing. Like, I was just in this shite gym in my local town, and I was just kind of tipping along. But I've seen progress because I'd obviously never really trained properly in a gym setting before. And yeah, I just kind of liked it as a form of training because I could control it, and I'm a bit of a lone wolf, so I'm not a team sport person. And I guess that kind of led me into bodybuilding eventually, but really I fell into it. I started off in bikini, and I kind of gotten to a point where I was training really consistently for say the 2 years previously, and I was bodybuilding style training, hypertrophy training, like obviously aiming for muscle growth, that kind of stuff, and doing that style of a training split. And I wasn't drinking. I was tracking my food. I was very consistent with that, and I just kind of reached a point where I was like, what can I do next? Like, what is the next step for me? And that's how I kind of decided on competing, and competing in bikini. So I started my first prep, oh, November 2016. Did my first show in 2017. God, that feels so long ago now. Oh my God, 7 years ago
it
I started
is.
my first prep. Oh, it's like crazy. So yeah, added a little while, but I've actually only done 3 shows, and they were all pre-lockdown. And on my first show, like I did terribly. Like I came last, wasn't lean. I was like, I looked like it was not. It was definitely a first show kind of experience. But did that in Ireland with IFBB, and loved it. Even though it was a terrible result, I just got the bug. I was just like, I was so invested in the process, and I learned so much, and I kind of just learned why it was called bodybuilding, because literally you're building your body in a way that you want it to look, and you can like structure things in a way, and you get a different result doing this versus this. And it just really was so interesting and educational to me. So really enjoyed that process, and I had a really good experience with my coach, with my prep. Afterwards I was fine. Like I didn't, like rebound, anything like that. I was like, I actually had such a good first experience as a whole. And I think I really enjoyed the afterwards because I set myself like a little science experiment. I got my geek mode on, and I
That's
really
how I
wanted to
think.
see what
Yeah,
happens when you do this right. Like what happens
yeah,
when you get lean and then you reverse properly, like, and gradually. And because I had that in my mind, and I was like, okay, but how high can I get my calories? And that really helped me not do the dog on it. I really
yeah.
wanted to see the result from being on point with it. So yeah, that was interesting. And then the following year I had moved to Australia, and I did my second prep and my second and third show. So I did the regional one here with IFBB, the NPC, the Pro League, and I loved it again. Had the same coach, and it was definitely a harder prep though. I think the first one it was difficult, but the second one was harder. I dieted harder, and definitely got more of the real experience of prep. And definitely had all of the struggles, but got through it. Probably went a little bit more wild after the third show, just because I had been on prep for like 5 months, 5.5 months at that stage, and I was just wrecked. And went on holidays and ate all of the food. But what happened for me was that at my going into my second show, I was looking at these girls who were doing body fitness. It's called back in Ireland, so that's with the elite side of the IFBB. And I was like, Jesus, they look unreal. Like, you know, they look at their shoulders, and I was kind of like, wow, fair play to them. Like, nothing but admiration. And then after the Arnolds and not doing very well again, I was sitting there watching the figure girls, and I was like, I want to look like that. If I'm busting my balls for 6 months, I want to love what I'm looking at. And not that I didn't like myself after bikini, or didn't don't or appreciate the look. Like, there's phenomenal bikini athletes and that suit that class so much, and that love that class and are just poster girls for bikini. But I just felt after 6 months, if I'm not like, I am obsessed with what's in the mirror and the look that I've brought, what's the point? So I'd rather take a step back for a little while, really push myself, and be in a position to go into the other class. And yeah, even if I don't come first or place really well, I know that I'm in a class that I adore and that I'm really happy that I've worked for, and like love that look more. So yeah, I just made that call after the Arnolds, and well, then lockdown and everything else happened. But then when I really decided to go for it and that I wanted to prep again, I was living in Thailand last year. Jesus, over a year ago, around Christmas, just before Christmas last year, in 20, oh God, I don't even know what year it is, but anyway, before Christmas 21, I got on to Meg, because I'd been following her for a long time, and she's obviously gone from bikini to figure herself. And I just wanted someone who really knew that process like the back of their hand, and really understood it, and knew how to get me from a bikini shape to a figure shape. Because like you, like the training would have been very different. It would have been very like glutes, delts, glutes, 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 delts. I not that not that I didn't enjoy the style of training, but it didn't light a fire in me. Like, you know, it was fine. I felt like I'll do the kickbacks, but you know, I didn't get excited about a glute pump. I was like,
So
oh my God.
how different is your training now
Oh
compared
Jesus,
to
I
what it was
love
like?
this training. Do you know what? I used to be raging because you don't really get marked on your back in bikini, and like you can't even show it. Like, it's just
I'm obsessed
I
with back.
yeah, I'm obsessed with back, and that for me was a naturally strong point, and I couldn't grow it, and I just felt like it was a shame, because it was a strong feature that was totally irrelevant to the class. So that was definitely another thing. But I would say training wise, a lot less focus on glutes, like a lot less focus on glutes, and a lot more on upper body, a lot more back, a lot more chest work. I actually train calves now. And yeah, like, probably not less accessory work, but less, I guess, less glute accessory work. Like, no, there's not, Jesus, you wouldn't find a kickback in my plan now. Yeah, but I love this style of training, and like full back days and pull days, and oh, give it to me. So yeah, kind of more push pull leg split rather than glutes, 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 delts, glutes,
Yeah,
glutes. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been an interesting ride. For anybody watching on YouTube, you can probably see the first layer of tan has gone in me, so the aroma in the room is just lovely. I have my first figure show this Saturday, so that's 2 more sleeps away. We'll see how I get on. We'll definitely include all of the roundup in the next episode.
Well, yeah, because you forgot to mention as well that you're in Australia right now,
I am in Australia
and
right now, so
I'm
we're in
obviously in the UK.
different time zones, and yeah, it's bodybuilding here. It's definitely not as big. Like, I'm so jealous of the UK scene, because Jesus, it's just blown up over the last few years. It's like the new America, isn't it? Like, there's so many shows, there's so many athletes, there's so many of the top coaches. It's just such a hub, which is amazing. Because you know, there's about one show in Ireland, so everybody travelled over to the UK anyway. But it's much the same here. There's not really many shows. This is the only show in Perth for the season, and then there's one national show, and that's it. You know, like, and that's the season. So there's definitely not as many opportunities to compete over here. So it's definitely going to require a lot more travel. which I will do for the next season for sure. But I just wanted to make sure I was kind of up to a certain standard before I go spending even more money than I already have on
Well,
travel.
yeah, you just want to get yourself up there and see what you look like with everybody else, and then that gives you the sort of path to what you
Exactly.
improve on, because that's all you can do on your first one, really, isn't it? Like,
Exactly. It's like going back to show one again because I've no idea like what's gonna happen on the day or what to expect and like how the experience will be different. But I think like especially for people coming into the sport, it's really important to remember that you can't control what anybody else does because there's someone working just as hard as you, there's someone working 10 times harder than you, there's someone eating less food, there's someone getting up earlier, there's someone doing more steps, there's someone doing more cardio, there's someone who has not had a sneaky square of chocolate. There's always going to be people better than you. There's always going to be. So there's no point getting wrapped up in that, and like just focus on yourself, manage your expectations, especially for your first show. Yeah.
also as well, because obviously you've got the experience in different categories. How have you found this prep for figure compared to bikini? Because I know obviously you've got to get a lot leaner.
Yeah.
So how have you found that?
It's
Because I've
rough.
got it to come. I'm looking at you and I'm like 2 weeks in, like, woo, still.
Lads, to be honest, because my last show was 4 years ago as well, a lot has changed. Like the industry changes very, very quickly. And if you take, a year off, you're pretty good. You have a good off season and, you get back on top of it. 2 years off, you made some phenomenal progress. You're going to come back with a bang. But I think anything more than that, you're a bit out of touch. Like I forgot how hard prep was. I genuinely forgot how hard it was. I don't know how I did this with full-time jobs with not that I don't have a full-time job, but an officey kind of like out of house job and like a lot more responsibilities. And like my first prep, I was flying. I was fly out up in Scandinavia. Like, how did I do that? I don't know. This prep has definitely been harder in the sense that I've had to diet harder because you have to get a lot leaner, right? And it's with a different coach. So there's a different kind of approach, different way of thinking. But I definitely feel more like a bodybuilder this prep. I'd say like in my previous preps with bikini, I was very IFYM style. Like obviously I wasn't eating pizzas, but I was definitely not on a meal plan and like, as strict as I am now. But it's just a new challenge. I'm enjoying it. I'm obviously seeing the results from it and yeah.
Good.
It's
You
been
definitely look very, very lean.
yeah, it's weird. I took a picture the other day for my check-in and I just had a picture of my abs and I was like, what? Like what? Is that me? Like I think is that my stomach? Like it's nuts. It's weird. But I'm chuffed. Like, and I think even before the show, it's kind of important to remember like how far you come in a prep because like on the day, there's nothing you can do to control the result, right? You can only do your best, and it's definitely hard to remind yourself when you've no carbs and you feel like a fucking bag of shite. That you've made great progress. But you do really have to try and remind yourself of that because then you're gonna set yourself up for misery afterwards. Like you see it so many times, don't you? Like at the shows and people are just in the horrors with their placings and like they just don't take it well because they've just expected too much from themselves and tried to control the uncontrollables.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
And that's it. Like there's loads of things that go on, obviously, like in your lifestyle as you're like in prep, things will happen and you just gotta deal with it and just adapt because when you've got no food and you're running on fumes and you need to keep the
Fumes,
stress as low as
fumes,
possible.
fumes. Let me tell you, I've never tracked a vegetable in my life until now. Ah, that was a hard pill to swallow. Like, because basically my carbs on rest days were vegetables, and that was pretty bleak. That was
Yeah.
rough. That was rough. Mm, mm.
Well, good luck
Um,
this weekend.
I know, guys. Next week we'll have a roundup of the show for sure. I'll let you know what the figure class is like. I'm not sure if it's gonna be very big in Perth. I don't think it usually is, but there will definitely be more athletes over at the national show in Brisbane next month. That's the 29th of April. But we do have some really exciting guests line up already. Like, I'm actually buzzed when we were making that list of who to ask and like who we can kind of, approach. I was like, Jesus, if we get half these people on, it's gonna be mint. Like, it's gonna be so good. But I think, yeah, I'm just excited to kind of just share the info and like get people excited about getting big and learning the process, and hopefully seeing more ladies take the step up and kind of not be afraid to gain and all of that jazz.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be good to see.
It will. Guys, we will be dropping this next week, we hope. We're well, obviously you won't hear this until then, but
I was going to say,
by the time this drops,
it'll
that'll
be
be an
dropped.
absolute pointless bit of information. Yeah, if you're watching it on YouTube, all of our bits are down below. You can follow us on Instagram, and that is at the Figure Forecast. We'll leave our email, both our socials down below, everything like that. If you do have any questions, if you are on YouTube, of course, just drop a comment. We'll get back to you. And if you are listening on Spotify or the podcast app, thank you so much. Please do leave a review, give us a thumbs up, give us some gold stars, rate us, and all of the stuff you have to say at the end of the podcast. Anything to add?
No, I think that's it. It was just an intro, really, wasn't it? About kind of what we planned on doing and kind of the gist behind the podcast.
The gist behind the podcast.
But yeah.
Yeah. So if you've got this far, well done. I don't know what we've just said, and I don't know how long we've been talking, so hopefully not too long. And thank you again for listening, and we will chat to you all again in the next episode.
Yeah. See you later.